Hello, my name is Carol Fowler, and my CRN number for this course is 22806. I would like to give my reference for this information as the book Invitation to World Religions by Brodd and colleagues, 2022. Today I will be presenting the observations of sub-Saharan originated African indigenous religions. Though these small-scale religions vary greatly in diversity and traditions, there are many common characteristics to be understood. These include rituals conducting the practices, teaching, and beliefs, and historical development. An example and introduction to African religions includes the Maasai culture of East Africa and the individual Tapilit. The ritual of public circumcision was a practice of the Maasai to transition boys to warriors. The response of boys during the circumcision further reflected their honor or shame upon their family. A common characteristic of most African religions are the narratives of myths by oral transference. Myths are not of a false nature, but hold truth to a religion's origin as well as the individuals in the religion. These may be testaments to the connections between supernatural beings and humanity or the structural components of a religion. Many times, these myths teach lessons to religious individuals concerning morality in an impactful manner. What purpose may individuals have in humanity? Normally, it will be the responsibility of elders or religious leaders to perpetuate a religion's myths, have deep understandings, and execute teachings. This can be seen in West Africa with the Dogon. Specifically, their myths explain the necessity for farming practices and maintaining the balance between humanity and nature. Most African religions are theistic, meaning that the religion's belief system is based upon the existence of gods or divine supernatural beings. Typically, this can be observed as a supreme deity or high god that is understood to be eternal. They may potentially have human-like qualities or be removed from human lives. Such human-like qualities may include mercy, kindness, or motives for justice. This divine being often will have associations with the sky, sun, or rain. This is because all those are connected to life-giving powers in the natural world. Some African religions may show respect to the supreme deity by constructing temples, churches, or shrines, though there are other supernatural beings other than the high god at times, such as spirits or lesser deities. To varying extents, it is understood that everyday life of the living world is manipulated or controlled by supernatural beings or gods. There is great importance emphasized upon the spirits of the deceased living in African cultures. Death is not believed to be a final state, but a transition back to the spirit world. For this reason, many don't approach death as a loss or tragedy under most circumstances. After individuals have become spirits of the dead, they are often present in the lives of their family and descendants. These spirits are not automatically good or evil, but can choose to assist the living or hurt them. Because of this connection, many African religions maintain an emphasis upon cultural values and family unity. Influences upon how spirits may affect the living is dependent upon how the living maintain that connection with spirits. The living must pay respect for the deceased and care for them in offerings or sacrifices, lest they face the harmful consequences spirits may inflict. This can be observed in the Gikuyu people of Kenya that contribute harm to the living individuals due to neglect of spirits. Anthropocentrism is present in most African religions. To be anthropocentric is to identify the center of the universe as humanity. This is identified within a religion's myths, as mentioned earlier, concerning the correlation between the universe and supernatural beings. These myths express that in the lack of teachings in salvation or punishment in the afterlife. Consequently, there is added emphasis upon the importance of the present world and on humanity, how humanity composes itself morally and physically in accordance with the teachings of myths have great importance. It is also in most African religions that it is taught that all humans are born with a dual soul and a male-female pair. It is during various practices that individuals may encourage the dual soul to become a single soul. The ritual of circumcision mentioned previously with the Maasai is also a practice by some to transfer the dual soul to either a male or female soul. There is evidence to suggest that the Islam religion has been present in Africa since the 7th century CE, beginning with the introduction of Muslim merchants. It further spread with trade and traveling scholars. It was during the 8th century CE when Islam became dominant further for many centuries after garnering control of most North Africa. Comparatively, Christianity was present in Africa during the 4th century CE, however, did not become widespread until recently. This religion was pushed into Africa due to colonial powers, missionaries, and cultural indoctrination. Efforts made by Europeans included translating the Christian Bible into various African languages, discriminating against the equality of indigenous religions, and government officials enforcing Christianity. Indigenous African religions were taught by European imperialism to be inferior and wrong. As mentioned previously, Christianity and Islam expressed criticisms of indigenous African religions and led major religious reform. Specifically, individuals of Christianity and Islam disapproved of various elements such as spirit possession, Bori spirits, and sacrifices. In this indoctrination and oppressive action, many practices from indigenous religions were discriminated against. It was then that African Christians led new reforms advocating the importance of transitional rites of passage to African culture that were not contradicting to Christianity or Islam. The Mahi Mahi rebellion led by Kinji Ketele was in response to German colonization and indoctrination. Kinji Ketele encouraged the further participation of indigenous religions and reasoned the return of their deceased ancestors. Unfortunately, Kinji Ketele was hanged by the German government, and the rebellion was later defeated by German colonizers. Communicating with spirits in African religions is possibly due to the closely intertwined relationship between the spirit world and human world. Reasons members of the living may attempt to communicate could be to ask for spirit intervention with God, assist with problems for therapeutic purposes, and more. The ways individuals may try to communicate with spirits are through sacrifice, divination, or spirit possession. Sacrifices are the main form of communication and involve sacrifices of small offerings such as food or large offerings such as animals. Divination utilizes supernatural powers to make predictions of the future. Often diviners will cite poetic verses and use palm nets during their divination. Spirit possession is a typically normal process that involves communication by a medium. Mediums are typically women who allow the spirit to possess them to mediate between the human and spirit world. The ability to manipulate supernatural powers known as witchcraft is not viewed as a negative association in most African religions. Witchcraft is powerful in normal and daily life and has influences in many aspects. It is also at times viewed to be a power in an individual rather that they have no control over, or even merely a physical substance present in an individual's body. This is specifically observed with the Azande in South Sudan. Witchcraft is a utilization of causation within the religion to explain the occurrence of various events. Another application is to facilitate healing. Divination may be an outlet of supernatural powers to determine the cause of an illness through conducting a special ritual. The existence and process of life cycles are extremely important to many African religions. This is seen as celebrations marking transitional stages, formation of identity, and social hierarchy. It's believed that one's life cycle begins before birth and doesn't end after death. However, birth is the first transitional stage in an individual's life and holds great importance. Many African indigenous religions have varying practices and rituals in preparation for the coming birth of a new individual as well as for the mother. The next major transitional stage is adolescence into adulthood, expressed as rites of passage. Typically, these transitions focus more on the identity in individuals as they become recognized as adults with responsibilities in the community. This also may be a transition of gender identity and recognizing individuals as ready for marriage and leadership. The other transitional stage is death into the spirit world. It is believed that this isn't the end of one's existence, but a transfer to a different world. In many African religions, the natural world and its elements are held as sacred, and currently, Africa is in the natural world is described by Brodd and colleagues as suffering the consequences of climate change primarily contributed by countries outside of Africa. Africa's natural world is suffering from land droughts and coastal flooding. This is very important because African religions hold that it is humanity's responsibility to maintain a balance with the natural world. This is expressed with religions within religions by a rainmaker or religious expert who enacts rituals to promote rainfall to benefit the natural world. African indigenous religions themselves have continued to persevere despite colonization. Even if it is only 10% of the African population, there are still many seeking to continue the values present in indigenous African religions and culture. As we have found, there is much diversity among African indigenous religions. However, there are common aspects in most. This includes teachings of supernatural beings or gods, the relationship between spirit and human worlds, anthropocentrism, and a focus on the present. Each African indigenous religion is unique and meaningful and living today and will continue to be in the future. This was a wonderful experience, and I am so grateful for it. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about the various indigenous African religions and found each extremely beautiful. It was also eye-opening to the extent of Africa's history and the colonization of it. I'm extremely grateful for this learning experience. My name is Carol Fowler, and my CRN number is 22806.